Well, welcome back. So let's just put this across. Now, yesterday, on the floor of the House, the honorable gentleman, you get to see them soon, did talk about the president naming those who he say are the sponsors of this terrorist. That's part of the one we were supposed to bring to you, but they're here anyways to talk about it. Honorable Benny Bakpa is a member representing Ethiop Federal Constituency. He joins us from our studios in Abuja. We also have Amasajo, former Commissioner for Information in Adamawa State, both of them. Gentlemen, good morning and thank you for joining us on the program today.
Yeah, good morning. How are you, my dear brother?
Well, we're doing good here. So, okay, well, let's start off with you, Honorable Bakpa. I'm sure you'll get to see him soon. That particular, so he's to set the scene in terms of what transpired. So, you've heard those comments concerning how these things are playing themselves out, and the request by the House, which a member did speak about. Is that, how would you situate these circumstances at the moment?
Well, thank you very much. I think I am very passionate about issues that have to do with security, and I will tell you why. Like you said in your earlier analysis, unless we get security right, we would not get every other thing right. We would not get our economy right. We would not get our democracy right, because the electoral system is premised on the fact that people are safe enough to go out and vote. So getting control on the security situation is key to getting control on whatever we're doing. And unfortunately for us, and this is where it really matters most for me, unfortunately for us, when non-state actors now break the monopoly of the state for control of instrument of coercion and instrument of violence, it becomes a very difficult situation for our country. And this is what we are facing. I have listened to the president saying that some highly placed persons are behind what is happening. It's not new to very, very many of us. I don't know if you noticed that there was a video that was trending quite some time ago on the social media of bandits who were celebrating whatever it was they were celebrating. There were three categories of people there. I could identify them very clearly. One group had military fatigue, and they were carrying guns and they were shooting in the air. One group was in mufti but looking very wretched and hopeless, kind of. Then another group had people who were neatly dressed with embroidered agbada, and some of them with neatly ironed cloth. That is the situation we are in. That is the interpretation of the situation we are in. Those who are in military fatigue carrying guns are the real combatants. Those who are looking wretched and hopeless, they are the informants. They live with us. They perform certain menial jobs within our communities, but they are the intelligence wing of the system. And then those you see with neatly embroidered agbada and looking very good, and they are either the godfathers or the representative of the godfathers. They are the ones that facilitate funding, laundering of money, provision of supplies. So we already have, they already have a nexus within themselves, and they are expanding that nexus, you know, to make terror itself a vocation in this country. And to that extent, I think beyond just saying we identify this, we expect that the system should, we must commend the government if they identify some of the sponsors of these activities, but we expect them to go further to say A, B, and C are the sponsors, and this is the evidence we have, and we're taking them to court because it's the court that will finally pronounce them guilty of what we're accusing them of doing. That is on one side. On the other side, you know, the president also spoke about
bring in Honorable Bakpa at this time to just give us that perspective of what transpired yesterday on the floor of the House. So, Honorable Bakpa, good morning, and thank you for joining us.
The one on the floor of the House.
Hold on a minute, hold on. Honorable Bakpa, so tell us, what transpired yesterday?
Hello?
Okay, I'm getting conflicting information. Okay, Mr. Sajo, please go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So what I am saying is that the president spoke about mitigating those factors or eliminating those factors that make the insecurity or the terrorism activities or the insurgency or the banditry activities very lucrative. And one of those things is that honestly we must return our humanity to ourselves. We must begin to be compassionate to ourselves. So many people are hopeless and despondent, and some are growing up as vagrants without family background, without family love, without family empathy, without family sympathy.
Right, Mr. Sajo.
And so they grow up.
We'll get more of this in just a moment, so we'll just highlight some matters, and then we'll be back. So don't go away.
Day address, where he clearly stated that separatists were being funded by a serving member of the National Assembly. Representative Steve Benny Bakba wants the president to mention a name.
Mr. Speaker, it will amaze you what I face in the hands of Ghanaian officials. I got there, they kept me for about 4 hours that they're trying to confirm something. I stayed at the airport for 4 hours, missed the wedding that I went there for. And at the end of the day, one of them walked up to me and said, "Sir, we are sorry, because there's an announcement in Nigeria that a member of parliament is sponsoring terrorism. We are put on red alert to ensure that no member of parliament from Nigeria come here to hide or to cause trouble."
In the meantime, a bill to regulate and capture the biodata of food vendors in Nigeria has scaled second reading in the House of Representatives. Sponsor of the bill, Abubakar Yunusa, says it will make for easy traceability of food poisoning, mishandling cases, and will help the country in the area of food security. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
All right, so you've heard those were some of the perspectives of Honorable Ben Ibakwa on the floor yesterday. Well, we do have him now, so he can just tell us what actually transpired. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program today. I'm saying that for the second or third time. So could you go ahead and put it in perspective for us? On the floor of the House, you were speaking about referring to the president's comments concerning those who are sponsoring terrorism. Tell us about that.
I still cannot hear it.
Oh dear. Okay. We'll address this and ensure that he does hear us and puts his perspective across. But you know the thing is, Honorable Mr. Sajo can't hear us, and Mr. Bagba can't in the same studio. I mean, sometimes you wonder how these things happen, but yeah, he's there to give us that perspective. But Mr. Sajo, can you hear us now, Honorable Bakwa?
No. Yes. I can hear. I'm here. Okay, yeah, then it's fine.
At least he can hear you now.
You still can't hear it? Okay, well,
if Shambali can hear me.
I can hear you perfectly, but can you hear me?
I can hear.
It's gone off again.
Okay, if you can hear me, just go ahead and tell us about the circumstance and the point you were making yesterday on the floor of the House.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Shambali, and your crew there. Well, the point I was trying to make, first, I want Nigerians to know that a working parliament is not that parliament that is dagger-drawn with the executive arm of government. We are partners in progress for the interests of the country. And that is why the parliament has shown a lot of cooperation with the executive, which Mr. President attested to in his October 1st broadcast. But for the fact that we are cooperating doesn't mean that we should be the whooping boys at all times. Nobody seems to remember the fact that the leadership of the National Assembly, especially the House of Reps where I belong, has shown a lot of interest when it comes to striking lecturers, striking doctors. They go out of their way, which is not supposed to be their responsibility. We set up our own COVID team. We donated when it was COVID times. our salaries for some time. But every time the executive seems to be maligning the parliament, as if one arm of government is more superior than the other. So that's why when Mr. President said one of us, a serving member of the National Assembly, is sponsoring terrorism, because IPOB, whatever anybody wants to talk about it, in the eye of the law, as it is in Nigeria today, because of the fact that the government has gone to court to prescribe it and target a terrorist organization, is a terrorist organization. And for Mr. President to go on national and international television to say that one of us, it means that 469 members are being accused of sponsoring terrorism. And that is why, and I had my personal experience because of that broadcast. That's why I brought it up under matter of privilege to tell the House that in the spirit of cooperation, yes, we have a lot of issues in Nigeria that we don't want to overheat the polity, but ordinarily we are entitled to certain provision of the Constitution, Section 88 and 89, to invite, so that possibly Mr. President can tell us what actually happened, why he has to name, why he's afraid to name whoever is sponsoring terrorism. Because if UAE, United Arab Emirates, is able to name Nigerians that are sponsoring, over the years we'll be hearing, we know the sponsor for Boko Haram, and not to date, nobody has been named. So that's why I brought the issue that they should meet him so that he can name the person, prosecute the person, convict the person, and shame the person. Because the right thing to do as the father of the nation is to name whoever is bringing division to the country. Is to name whoever is bringing the country's name to the mud. Is to name whoever is responsible for what we are facing as a nation, that carrying the Nigerian passport has become a crime all over the world. So that that person or the group of persons can actually be shamed and dealt with according to the law. We have the Terrorism Act in force, and anybody that is funding terrorism should be prosecuted along with that act.
Now, given one wonders, is the feeling the same with your colleagues across party lines, because they couldn't debate it owing to the nature and the processes that you relied on when you brought the matter up on the floor?
Yes, everybody definitely will, they felt the same way, because if you are accusing, for instance, you have 2 or 3 of you in the studio, and somebody saying one of you, somebody from here stole, it's everybody. So the feeling is the same, but I choose, again, in my wisdom, I feel it's quite contentious, and it's something that I wouldn't want it to go into debate, because when it goes to debate, frayed knaves, my colleagues will definitely have opportunity to vent their anger. But I just want to bring it to the House so that Mr. Speaker and the leadership can actually go and do the needful without really heating up the polity. I quite understand that we have a lot going on. The truth is this: the parliament, I know parliament all over the world are not so loved. But this Nigeria parliament has shown a lot of cooperation. They've shown a lot of complementary efforts to the executive. And I think we should be given pride of place and respect. Because a situation where there was a time, there's this criticism, a video of the Senate president saying that whatever the president brings, I will approve. And Mr. Speaker, on our side, has taken a lot of blame, a lot of bullets, a lot of criticism for what he ought not to take for, because all they are doing is to ensure that there's stability in the polity. And every time the parliament seems to be the whooping child, everybody come, anti-corruption agency is the parliament, even the executive that we seem, the head of the executive that we are working with, to ensure that the country runs smooth in the heat of these issues that we're having. They seem not to agree with us and respect that we're an arm of government, and every arm of government deserves equal respect in line with the principle of separation of powers.
Could it be a call, Honorable, could it be a call on the part of the President for an introspection in the National Assembly? Maybe there is a system with which the National Assembly can look inwards and say, hey, we have been accused. We all have been accused that one of us is there a system that could achieve that? Do you think it's a call for an introspection by members of the National Assembly, either or 2 of the chambers?
Well, we must agree that like I said, separation of powers. The power of investigation is not with us. Yes, we have the power of investigation as enshrined in the relevant sections 88, 89. But when it comes to issues like this, the executive arm of government have a lot of instruments at their disposal. Nobody is saying that we don't have immunity. Our immunity is confined to the hollow chambers and the president of the National Assembly. So if they find anything, we're not saying that they should not investigate. They should go ahead and investigate. We don't know. We don't have the instrument. We're not talking about something that we can just look into. They have the DSS, they have the police, they have so many instruments at the disposal of the executive arm of government. So I believe it's their responsibility to do the investigation, thorough one, bring whoever they find that the prima facie case, again, take the person to court, and if you are able to convict the person, then we will have succeeded in shaming the person, because a good father should not hide the child that is doing what is wrong. A good father should bring the child, name the child, shame the child, so that other ones will learn from it. So I don't think it's our responsibility. We don't have that. We don't have the instrument. We don't have the capacity to do it. Let the executive do it. Name the person and then prosecute the person. And if you are able to convict the person, that is when you have succeeded in shaming the person. But as it is now, that over these years, the country has not been able to mention the sponsors of Boko Haram. Not too long ago, the Senate and the House of Reps have to come via emotion, begging Mr. President to now name the bandit terrorism. But when it comes to the issue of the IPOB, it was a speedy activity. So, you know, these are some of the issues that are bringing about agitation when the same law don't seem to apply to everybody. So I think they have the powers, they have the instrument, they have the wherewithal to go and do what they have to do. Nobody is disturbing them.
All right, Mr. Sajo, what do you think of this?
Yeah. I look at it beyond just the fact that our respected leadership has been accused of something that is wrong. But I look at it, you know, from the perspective of the fact that already there is a serious disconnect and mistrust between the leadership of the country and the citizens. And this trust deficit is further eroded when you begin to accuse leadership of being behind some of the wars that the citizens are facing. You remember that some times ago we said there was Boko Haram in government. And at that period of time, everybody was beginning to feel, what is happening? Who actually is going to protect me? If the people that I reposit the responsibility for my protection are also seen as part of the problem I'm facing. There are, you know, unarguably there are some rogue elements within the security agencies that have been arrested of recent and have been exposed, you know, thereby also eroding the confidence the people have in institutions that are supposed to protect them. So when you accuse the National Assembly or a member of the National Assembly of being part of sponsors of whatever you know, difficulties people are facing as a result of the insecurity that is taking place in the country, I look at it beyond just individuals, but I look at it, you know, from the perspective of the fact that we're eroding, you know, a huge confidence that the people are supposed to repose in their leadership as their protectors, ultimately, you know, by saying, look, your protectors are also your tormentors, and that is key. So we need to restore trust deficit. Like my honorable brother here said, if instead of saying one of them making all the 400 and something members, you know, accused in the eyes of every one of us until the very person that is responsible is exposed, we should have exposed the person so that the remaining 380 something, you know, will still look at them with the credibility that we have always looked at them. And I think I'm really worried about the erosion of trust and confidence between us and the people that lead us.
Well, just a quick one, Mr. Sajo. What, in your opinion, could be the reason for which the president made that statement in that speech? In one breath, he mentioned two specific individuals, perhaps because, you know, those ones have been arrested. But in this particular instance, he just gave a blanket comment. In your opinion, what do you think the intention is?
I believe very sincerely that Mr. President just threw that statement as a prelude to engaging the leadership of the National Assembly before any action is taken. And I think he must have done it out of respect for the leadership of the National Assembly, trying to make sure that the leadership of the National Assembly that my honorable brother here said has given him so much support and cooperation is not undermined in the process of him taking action against one of their own. Don't forget that the leadership of the National Assembly, whether it is Senate or House of Reps, are not overloads in those chambers, but they are first among equal, and that they have a responsibility for each and every one of their members as an equal. So I believe Mr. President is just trying to first engage the leadership of the National Assembly with the facts available to him, and then seek cooperation in whatever actions he's going to take. I believe that is the purpose from my own perspective. But I also reiterate the fact that in the larger picture is that we, the citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, are already, getting agitated because we believe very sincerely that our leaders should be like Caesar's wives. They must be above board. And if our leaders are found not to be above board, it erodes our confidence in their capacity to provide us the guidance that we need. And that is the bigger picture.
So when we return, perhaps we'll find out how do we give unto Caesar what is Caesar. Join us again.
Thanks for staying with us. Honorable, I'll ask you the same question I asked Mr. Sajo earlier. The speech contained that particular statement without mentioning any specific name. In your opinion, what could the intention be?
Well, for me, as an insider and as a member of parliament, I believe it's just one of those ways of trying to discredit the parliament and our daddy here said, it's to erode the confidence. You remember that the House of Reps, in particular, had to come up with what we call the Green Chambers magazine, so that we can be talking our own stories. There were a lot of insinuation, a lot of fake news, a lot of assumption against the National Assembly, and the people talking about us don't really know what we're doing. So that's why the leadership, in their wisdom, decided to come up with our own quarterly magazine where we have to display our activities, including projects, what we're doing, the bills. So we've always been the whipping child, but I think it is time all arms of government respect their boundaries, know their rules, and perform their. So for me, I think Mr. President just want to, in their usual way, put the blame on us because he has all it takes. I remember there was a time a serving senator was arrested and charged to court. Nobody fought him. Nobody argued because that is his responsibility. He has the power of prosecution. And we've had opportunities to meet him. We were with him not too long ago before we went on annual vacation in the villa. So he can as well call the leadership and tell the leadership. He doesn't wait for October 1st, which is a broadcast that is monitored all over the world. I saw it on CNN, I saw it on BBC. And what kind of impression are you giving to the institution? You leave Nigeria, and I used to be a very proud, I leave this country each time I travel out, and I tell them I'm a member of parliament in Nigeria. But now you are telling them one of us is sponsoring terrorism. And when you enter, if you carry the green passport, and they say your occupation or whatever you're doing, you said you are a member of parliament, you are a prime suspect. And I just gave a little insight into my personal experience, even here at the back door. So I think it's just one of those ways they've been doing it. ICPC, everybody wants to do their whatever collection information data they have, they brandish it and they say the National Assembly. So everybody, and they've been able to sow that into the minds of the populace, the masses. So everybody sees, the moment you say, oh, you're a member of the House of Representatives or you're a senator, oh, there's this local balance, now they chop our money. So that is the kind of thing that we're facing as representative of people. The truth is this, the task of representation is very, very huge in Nigeria because the expectations are quite high. So when you're doing the bit you can do, I think people should appreciate it, and it's worse when another arm of government, who is supposed to be partners, is trying to just mess the whole system up with that kind of statement. So I disagree that Mr. President does not know what he was doing. It's intentional to berate the House and the National Assembly and all.
Yeah, you also heard Mr. Sajo say earlier that, you know, it's popular knowledge, so to speak, that many people believe that, you know, the sponsors of terrorism or acts of illegality in the country, fueling insecurity, they are not unknown to many people in top positions in government. You would recall a governor saying that, look, we know the people who fomented some of this trouble. You know, perhaps that is part of the allusion. So given that, is it in your opinion that the laws are weak or the enforcement of the law is weak in order to bring these people to book?
One thing is this, the laws are not weak. It is the enforcement. Why is the enforcement weak? Because the law seems to be selective in terms of operation. When you know the people and you refuse to go, and in another swipe, you don't even know the people and you are gone. It makes it difficult. We must have our laws made for everybody. Everybody in Nigeria is supposed to subject to any law made by this country. But the operators, the executive arm of government have intentionally refused to. They have divided, and that is why you see more division coming in this country, because it is unfair. The reason for agitation is marginalization, not being carried out, non-inclusiveness. And when you see a situation applied to A and it's not applying to B, it becomes difficult. So for me, the laws are not weak. It's the operation and the operators that are weak.
If then that is the situation, is there anything that the National Assembly, the legislature can do to compel enforcement of the law? Because there is no point making the laws if those laws are not going to have teeth.
My brother, I am just telling you here that we are running a constitutional democracy, and the Constitution gave every arm of government their roles. The National Assembly or the legislature can only make laws, and after making it, it's left for the executive to implement. And if they are not implementing, that is why, again, I keep telling Nigerians, don't leave the entire Nigeria and the life of Nigeria in the hands of 469 members of the National Assembly. There are times you should take ownership of the country. You should speak out when you see that the executive, when you see that the National Assembly is not doing what they ought to do. Speak out. When the executive is not doing what they are supposed to do, speak out. The world is now a global village. The social media has helped us. Yes, I have my issue with the application of some persons and how they use the social media, but I think it's one instrument that can really help to galvanize advocacy for what the people believe in. We can only do our bit as lawmakers, and the responsibilities are clear: lawmaking, oversight, and representation. And once you have done that, any other thing is left for the people and the executive to implement. So we can't do beyond what the Constitution has given to us.
Mr. Sajo,
overlapping, which is one of the reasons why I am unhappy with what is happening.
All right. Well, Mr. Sajo, from what experience Honorable Ibakwa has expressed, personal experience at that, that, for instance, the parliament in Ghana is on red alert. That could also be the experience or the position of many other, countries in the world. on the back of the president's statement that a member of the National Assembly, 1 out of 469 members of the National Assembly, is fueling terrorism in the country. Is there any way to reverse that impact? Because without the National Assembly in our country, definitely this kind of statement would demoralize them to one extent. Is there a way, in your opinion, that this impact can be reversed or at least mitigated?
Yeah, I think it's very, 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 very simple. To be very honest, for us to get to mitigate what the impact is, not only on the parliamentarians, I think it's on every Nigerian. If your leaders are themselves rogue, but what are you? So to mitigate that kind of a thing is that the person the president believed was responsible should be named, should be taken to court, prosecuted, and a verdict delivered by a competent court of law, so that we would be in a position to say, look, this is the person, is not the institution, is not the other 468 other members. No, but it's this particular person. And I think that is the best way to go about it. Let me also tell you that, we need to be very, very conscious of the fact that part of the crisis we are facing in this country has to do with delay in dispensing justice to people who commit offenses. When you dilly-dally about an issue that has to do with justice and enforcement of the law, you are delaying quite a number of things. And like I said earlier, I'm repeating it, you are eroding confidence in the whole system. I think the best thing to do now is to say, is Honorable A, B, C, D, or Distinguished Senator C, D, E, F, and that this is what we have found about him, and then he's going to appear in court tomorrow, and then let the judiciary also speedily take actions, and so we exit this situation so we can move forward. Otherwise, like my honorable brother said, each one of them, as far as the public is concerned and as far as the world is concerned, each one of them is a potential sponsor of terrorist activities until the very person that does it is exposed. And so this is where we are. I think expose the person responsible, take all legal matters against the person. That can mitigate the situation. But that does not mean that we will be entirely free. Like I said, this is an accumulation of accusations right from before this government up to this government, where we keep saying that there are people who are sponsoring certain criminal activities in the government, within the hierarchies of security agencies, within the hierarchies of government offices, now within our parliament. I think we are completely eroding confidence in our governance structures. So what are we talking about? I think we should go beyond saying there are this, there are that, to naming the people, using legal means to extract a redress from the situation from those people. And once we are able to do that, we would restore some modicum of confidence in the system. One, we will restore confidence in the fact that the system is up and alive and can protect the people. Yeah. And two, we would be able to say the people that, among the people that we repose confidence in, there are some of them that have some rogue tendencies, and that we are eliminating them one after the other. It's key. Restoring confidence in the people is key.
Well, Mr. Sajo, just one thing that I'd like you to quickly respond to, which is something that Honorable said earlier, about the fact that the executive has been kind of selective in enforcing the law sometimes. If you agree with him, what then could you be the problem? What sentiment could be at play that makes it look like certain laws apply to certain people and it doesn't apply to certain people?
I think these are, with due respect to all our leadership in this country and all of us that are members of the ruling elite, I think this is begging the question. This is diverting attention from the real issues. I think the real divisions we have in this country, the people, you know, the divisions between the application of the law in this country is the division between those that are high and mighty, like my brother, the honorable here, who can be mentioned in hiding that he is a sponsor of terrorism, but nobody will know whether he is the one or his colleagues or any other person, and the ordinary people, the poor people in the country, people who do not have anybody to plead their cases at the top. You know, a person steals a goat, before you say Chamberlain or Channels TV, the guy is prosecuted, a judgment is passed, and the guy goes to prison. Then another person, you know, steals billions of naira, and the case takes about 10, 15, 20 years. You know, ordinary the criminals, petty criminals, or even the bandits and that are carrying guns and coming to shoot people and kidnap people, when they are caught, the swift action may be taken against them, but their sponsors, their godfathers, the big guns are always shielded. You know, they are shielded. So the real division we have in this country is between those that have proper means, those that have power, and those of us that do not have power, do not have means, and so the law is applied differently. But we in the elite will want to befuddle the minds of the people by saying it is one section against the other, it's one tribe against the other, it's one religion against the other. I think Nigerians should wake up to the fact that there are only two tribes in this country: the rich and powerful tribe, and the poor and despondent tribe. And it is the poor and despondent tribe that everybody,
pardon me, we're winding down now.
You know, discriminate against.
Right, we're winding down. Let me ask Honorable Ibakwa in our concluding moments. You know, should we, because I do remember that some time ago on the floor of the Senate, one of the senators who he used to be a top police officer during his time, during former President Obasanjo's time, said to his colleagues right there on the floor that he's surprised at some of the people who are sitting down there with him as senators, because he knows that he has case files, he knows what they have done, the kind of records they have, criminal records as a matter of fact. And then we have seen former servicemen accuse members of executive arm of government of funding terrorism, having been interviewed, as they said at the time. And then these particular comments from the president. Should the House, or should we take a step back and say, wait a minute, it's not the first, second, or third time that persons in government are being accused of having links with terrorism, with crime, and you know, such vices. Yet, these are people who were cleared by security to occupy those positions. Shouldn't perhaps a step be taken back and say, wait a minute, it looks as if we're not getting something right here? How is it ever that any such accusation could even be mentioned against anyone in government who are supposed to be above board? How about that?
Well, the process, you know, Nigeria, I agree, I wouldn't say I exonerate myself. We are slaves to political party. They say party is supreme. And there seems to be some level of infiltration during this screening where people are not properly looked at, because I don't see why somebody who have that kind of record be cleared to contest election and sit to decide the fate, welfare, wishes primary responsibility of government of the people, because that person definitely is not one. But let me remind you of something. As a House, I remember the House of Representatives led by their Speaker, who has been very bipartisan, organized a week-long security summit. And at the end of the summit, they came up with resolutions which were submitted to Mr. President. And how far have they gone with the implementation? So I think the whole thing boils down to the executive arm of government. It is not the responsibility of Parliament to screen people and get them cleared for the roles that they are playing presently. We still need to tell them. Like I said before, the laws are not weak, the operations and the applications are weak. So that's just what I have to say about that.
At that point, Honorable Ben Ibakwa and Mr. Ahmed Sajo, thank you very much, both of you, for your time today.
Thank you
Thank
very
you for
much.
having us.
We're grateful. God bless you all.